In my previous video, I criticized the New York Times and their writer for being rather flippant by saying you could see Copenhagen in 36 hours. Well, I was always told if you've got a beef with someone, don't just criticize them, give an alternative. And so this is my alternative way to visit Copenhagen. And it's 4 days in Copenhagen. Day 1, if you're coming from America, day 1 will start at 7 a.m. or thereabouts when your plane lands in Copenhagen Airport. So, you are going to be tired because you're still at 1 a.m. New York time, or even earlier if it's Minnesota or California. Well, let's say 1 a.m. New York time. So you're just about ready for bed while the city is starting its day. Now, you could go to bed, but that would ruin your schedule. So you're just going to have to tough out this day, and that's what my girlfriend and I did. You get into Copenhagen, you're probably going to be near Guildhall because that's where the train station is, and you can put your bag in your hotel or what have you. But let's start in Guildhall. So you're probably going to need a little nourishment. And this is the perfect time to go to Ole and Stin or Emery's and get a Danish baked good or one of their breakfast treats or sandwich. They are delicious. Then when you start from Guildhall, let's walk around the city with our destination being New Haven. New Haven is a picturesque harbor with beautifully painted buildings, and it has what I consider the starting attraction of any visit to Copenhagen, the harbor cruise, where you'll get on a boat and sail out to the harbor and see sights like the new Opera House, the Old King's Brewery, and of course, the Little Mermaid. Now, when you're done the harbor cruise, you might want to get something else to eat, maybe a hot dog. Once you have your hot dog, and these are delicious hot dogs, they are made with great care and they are better than anything you can get in the United States. Then, I think the best thing to do is to walk to the Little Mermaid. Your legs are going to be tired, being in a plane, so you need some exercise. And when you start walking up to the Little Mermaid, one of the places you can go is the Cast Museum. It's open on Sundays, and we usually get in Sunday morning, so this is the time we take to go to this interesting part of the Danish museum system. It's a museum where the Danish government made copies of famous statues. See, there's even a couple peeking out the window. Then we get to continue on to the Little Mermaid and look at the Little Mermaid up close, along with everyone else who is looking at the Little Mermaid up close. Then you can walk around. There's a nice place to eat when you're walking back to New Haven. There is a little restaurant place there, or you can continue to go to New Haven and walk around and have dinner. And then it is time to go to bed because you are probably exhausted. And you want to go to bed. You don't want to go to bed too early, but you don't want to go to bed too late. So go to bed and we'll start the next day bright and early. Day 2. Day 2. This is your first full day in Copenhagen. Now, if you're staying in a hotel that has a breakfast buffet, which most do because Danes and the people who travel in Denmark and come to Denmark love a buffet. And the buffet is a gastronomic attraction to the city. So enjoy it. Have some of their delicious cheeses, their liver pate, their bacon, which is really good bacon. Now, let's get out there. And the first place we're going to do, if we start at Guildhall, as we started before, we're going to go to the Round Tower. Started in 1636 by Christian IV, people go up there for the amazing views. And you can see virtually everything in Copenhagen. After the Round Tower, it's time to eat lunch, and I like to go to one of the traditional cafes that are on the side street. You don't need one of the things that are on the major streets that are probably more filled with tourists. This is where Danes like to come and eat, and one of the things that they like to come and eat is open-faced sandwiches, and there are a number of the smorgasbord, and it is a delight. After the cafe, we're going to venture to Rosenborg Castle in Rosenborg Gardens, which is a wonderful place.
The castle is majestic from the outside and has luxurious rooms on the inside and includes the Danish monarch's crown jewels that are amazing.
One of the best places to go to experience food from all over Denmark is Tivoli Food Court. And you have a great selection of items there. After you've had some dinner, you might want to take a walk around the defense works, which are these wonderful open bodies of water that were put in there to protect the city from invasion. They're no longer needed for invasion protection, but they're also a very nice place, and people in Copenhagen walk around there. You can even stop and look at the Tycho Brahe Planetarium. After you've done that, maybe you can have a drink at a bar, and then it's time to go to bed and get ready for day 3. Day 3, eat that breakfast buffet and be fortified. Now, starting from Guildhall, we're going to make our way to Christianshavn, which is a section of the city. It's across the harbor, and we're going to begin with the Church of Our Savior. It's a magnificent church, and when you go up the tower, instead of going inside the tower, you go on the outside of the tower. And it is a very interesting way of going up a tower. I did it. It felt a little treacherous and a little exhilarating, and you get to see incredible views of the city. After you get off of there, they have a nice Olensin Lagerhausen or Emery's coffee shop in the neighborhood, but you might want to get a pastry and a cup of coffee and a snack. Now, here's the choice. This might be the time to go to Freetown Christiania, which is renowned around the world as being kind of a city that exists all on its own and doesn't get any interference from the Danish government. It's a little more complicated than that. But it's a very interesting place, and frankly, except for one little part where they sell drugs and there are gangs who are trying to influence, it's a very peaceful place. It's almost, I dare say, like a suburb. Now, if you don't want to go to the Freetown Christiania, go to the War Museum, which, while talking about violence, is a lot less violent. There's also a number of other museums that you can substitute in, such as the Museum of Copenhagen, Torvalhalens, and the National Museum. And of course, you can just walk around the city of Copenhagen. And for the evening's entertainment, and the evening can start as early as 10 a.m. in the morning, you can go to Tivoli, enjoy the rides and wonderful restaurants. And if it's a Friday, I think they have a fireworks show, and it's a beautiful park, and it is said to have been the inspiration for Walt Disney when he created Disneyland. So, an evening in Tivoli, you can watch the sun go down and see all the bright lights and a lot of excitement. Then back to bed, ready for day 4. Day 4, walk around Copenhagen and maybe take in one of the museums you didn't take in the day before. You have the Thorvaldsen Museum. You have once again, the City of Copenhagen Museum, the National Museum, the Glyptotek. And the Glyptotek is fantastic because I found it just so kooky because this guy, the head of Carlsberg Beer, the son of the founder, but then became the head of the beer, he went there and he went to Italy and he collected a lot of heads. A lot of heads. Look at that. That's a lot of heads. Then, after the Glyptotek, we're going to go to the Marble Church. And the Marble Church is this wonderful, magnificent piece of architecture. And I had it on my list for several years to go up to the top of the Marble Church, but I was denied. Here I was 1 year, very disappointed. And thank you, Denmark, and thank you to the Marble Church for giving me an existential visit. If you can get to the top of the church, it is a wonderful view. You go up these little stairs and then you come out and you see a panorama of Copenhagen. And you get to see their new waste disposal site that has a ski slope on it. I kid you not, a ski slope. Now, after the Marble Church, you might wander over to the Danish Design Museum and see why Danish design is so famous. And then maybe walk around the harbor a little more. And this is the perfect night. Your last night is to have a dinner in New Haven at one of the seafood restaurants and watch the people walk back and forth. And then for your last night, just watch the harbor. It's a beautiful way to see a sunset and to see the energy and beauty of the city of Copenhagen. And that's day 4. Extra days. Now, I didn't say you could only stay in Copenhagen for 4 days. That would be a little draconian, a little parental and infantilizing. You could stay for a week. You could stay for 2 weeks. There's more in Copenhagen than you could possibly see. And there's also day trips that you can go out to. You can go to the Louisiana Museum, a wonderful art museum.
With its big thumb. There's Kronborg Castle, which was immortalized as Elsinore in William Shakespeare's play Hamlet. And of course, there's Odense, the birthplace of Hans Christian Andersen.
And then you could go to the museums that I said that you didn't get a chance to see, or see any of the other museums that are located in there. You could even go to the Carlsberg Brewery, which looks really fantastic. I have yet to been to the Carlsberg Brewery, and so it's on my list for future trips. So all I'm saying is, don't put yourself in a bind and say, I only got 36 hours to go to Copenhagen. Copenhagen has limited possibilities, limitless possibilities, and you should give it the time you want and it deserves. Thank you kindly.